everybody. Chair would like to call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington. It is Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. It is 7 p.m. on the dot. Just a sound check. Trustee Burke, are you able to hear us before we call the roll?
I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
Hallelujah. Yes. Yes. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Okay. President Richardson?
Here.
Trustee Burke?
Here.
Trustee Hayes?
Here.
Trustee Perkins? Trustee Schauer?
Here.
Trustee Schaumoser?
Here.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Here.
Thank you.
Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okey-doke. Agenda item 4A this evening is approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting from June 13th, 2023. Are there questions, corrections, or edits for the clerk at this time? There being none, Chair would like a motion to approve agenda item 4A, minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting June 13th, 2023. May I have that motion, please? By Trustee Schauer, may I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Hayes. Thank you both. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Schaumoser?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn? Yes. President Richardson?
Yes. As always, Chair asks unanimous consent that the record remain open for 5 calendar days for the purposes of any necessary technical and conforming amendments without objection. So agenda item 5 is President's remarks. A couple of things. We have some guests here tonight. First, I'll yield to Trustee Schauer to introduce our good friends from the Lake County Sheriff's Department who have some comments that they want to share with us this evening.
Well, first I'll introduce Lieutenant Scott Kirk, and he can take us from that point into a special presentation on a unit of the Lake County Sheriff's Department that we hear a lot about but very rarely see anything about. So, Lieutenant Kirk?
Good evening, everybody. So we always talk about what the Lake County Sheriff's offers you, and it's not just the deputy that you get 24 hours a day. So I want to introduce to you Deputy Kevin Gower and his dog Axel. We have 9 canine dogs, and you don't always understand what the canine officer does or what they're able to do and what it takes for them to get to this point. So I wanted to bring Deputy Gower in to offer you some information on what it takes to be a canine officer and to train these fine animals, and then we'll open it up for questions if you have any. So Deputy Gower, if you want to just talk about your experience, your training, and Axel.
Sure. This is, yeah. Put him on this side. Down. Yeah, so like you said, my name's Kevin Gower. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 6 years. This is my partner, Axel. I got him last April, so we've been together for almost a year and a half now. He's trained, he's called a dual-purpose dog, so what that means is he's trained in more than one thing. There's some dogs that are trained in just narcotics or tracking. He's trained in both those things, so staring at Scott over here. So when I got selected to be a canine handler, they put me through an 8-week course put on by Tops Kennel in Grays Lake. They're the main agency that trains all the canines before we even get them. So before I even got him, he was trained for 3 months on what we work on, which is tracking, narcotics, and article searches, as well as apprehension, so bite work. So we went through the class, and we went through the basics and everything, graduated, and then every week we go to training, 8-12 hours a week. Actually, where I'm headed tonight after this is apprehension training. So we meet up at a building. We do, usually it starts off with like a little obedience training, and then we kind of go off and spread out into different areas and do some scenario-based training. So that's tonight, and then usually on Monday mornings we go to tracking, which is all tracking based, and we work specific areas where he needs work on, or just all the dogs need work on in general. So, and then every single Saturday morning we do narcotics training. So that's usually set up at an area throughout the county. We'll use the Gurney Public Works Building, we use tow yards, anything like that, kind of get the dogs used to just finding narcotics anywhere, so they're not surprised or spooked by anything, so. Yeah, it's a lot of training throughout the week, and then it's a lot of time on our own just throughout the shift doing some training. So, like I said, for tracking, he's trained to track human scent. So what that is when, say there's a little 2 or 3-year-old that walks away from home, or an elderly person that might not know where they are. So if I put them on their scent, clothing article, or it could just be the last place that they were seen. He's trained to follow that scent all the way to where that person is. As far as narcotics goes, he's trained to detect cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana. So we do a lot of work with that as well. We assist our special investigations group in doing that, helping them out, and then apprehension work is a big part. Like I said, tonight is a big part of what we do. That's probably where we train the most, just because when we need them to to apprehend somebody, we want them to do it right. So that's kind of a little bit of what we do. We did a demo at the Libertyville Dog Days last Saturday. So it's a lot of public relations as well. And when we're not at work, he's at home with me. He's like a pet. He's just like any other dog. He's very relaxed. As you can see now, he's kind of just relaxing right now. Hasn't gone into work mode yet, since we haven't gone to training yet. So he's been awesome so far.
What kind of dog is he?
It's a German Shepherd. Yeah. He came from the Czech Republic. That's where Tops has a couple of places that they buy the dogs from overseas. So their breeder was Czech Republic, so he got shipped over in last winter. And then...
So you would be considered a Bohemian Shepherd?
No, they think he's Dutch Shepherd. Yeah. He just turned 3 on Thursday, actually, so, yeah.
I'm happy to recognize trustees for questions. Trustee Hayes?
No, I'm familiar. I had him when I was in the military, so, yeah, you live with the dog. He's your buddy.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for coming in.
Trustee Schalmoser?
Thank you for everything, really wonderful presentation.
Of course.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Thank you for sharing with us. What does he like to eat?
So I actually just changed his diet. He eats a raw diet now, so it's like these little beef patties that are all, in a plastic bag, but they're all super healthy. He eats a lot of that every day, so, yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Does it bother him if you take his picture?
No, not at all. Yeah. Want to sit up? Sit. Good boy. He thinks he's going to do something right now. You can try calling him, see if that'll work.
Squirrel.
Here, I'll get out here.
Sheriff called the dog lovers.
Yeah. Trustee Scheller, questions or comments?
So, how many, in the K-9 unit of the Lake County Sheriff's Department, how many are there?
We have 9 dogs total. They try to do 3 for each shift, so we're all on 12-hour shifts now. There's 3 on days that start at 6:30, there's 3 on afternoons that start at 2:30, and then I start at 6:30 p.m. So they try to spread them out so we have coverage, and we assist not only our own department, but we go out to a lot of calls for other departments. That's honestly probably a majority where we go, assisting other departments that don't have dogs. So.
And what would be Alex or Axel's most infamous accomplishment so far?
Probably, let's see, there's been a couple. One, we were called to, like I said, we were called out to help another agency, Pleasant Prairie, actually, just right over the state line. They had pursued a vehicle, and they had a couple people that weren't getting out after, I think it was half an hour, 45 minutes. So I brought him, and all I had him do was bark, and the second they heard that, they gave up immediately. Yeah. So no one got hurt, everyone was safe, and then he found somebody that had fled a traffic stop on foot from one of our deputies last fall too. pretty much right after we got done with class, so I was pretty proud of that since, we're a pretty new team and we weren't too experienced yet, so he kind of surprised me. So
he's on duty when you're on duty, and not on duty when you're not on duty?
Yep. Every day he's going to work with me, and then every day he comes home. And then, or if I go on vacation or whatever, he stays at Tops Kennels in Grays Lake, and they take care of him. They'll put him on the treadmill every day. He's trying to go on the treadmill. It helps with their joints and stuff, so they can have a longer career.
They have just the manner of the animal is amazing, that they can be as attentive as they need to be and as calm as Axel is right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, they, back in the day, they used to train him a lot more aggressively, but now they're, just like this. They can be perfect pets at home, and then, when it's time to go to work, they can go to work.
And how many years do you think Axel will be an active officer?
Hopefully a long time. Like I said, he's 3 right now, so hopefully till he's, 11 or 12, that's the goal. We have a couple dogs that are 9 and 10, so you never know how long they can go. And he's, as long as you keep him healthy and on a good diet, then they should be able to go for a while.
Interesting. Thank you very, very kindly for yourself and bringing Axel with us.
Yeah, of course.
And I hope I don't get to see you in a tough situation there.
We're grateful. We've had a long relationship with the Lake County Sheriff's Office, and in a community like ours where you have a lot of walking trails and so forth, this is a real asset in case a child or someone with memory issues who's older does get lost. This is really something, because we've really prized ourselves on creating open space that's walkable and approachable.
Right.
So this is particularly useful. The other thing is, do animals like humans have knowledge that builds upon itself? He'll be much better at tracking methamphetamines when he's 7 than he was at 3.
For sure, yeah. The more training you do, the more they get used to it.
So it's iterative like humans.
Exactly, yeah. The more they do it, the more they get better at it. So even in the last year, he's gotten tenfold better than he was. And same with me. I'm still learning how to read his body language and everything. So it takes a lot of time, for sure, to get better. That's why you see, like, Dax, like the pretty famous dog.
And I'm impressed that you got the obedience training done in 8 weeks. That's really something.
That's another constant, yeah. It's always something there's always something to work on there, I'll train him, and of course now he's trying to smell my toy. I'll train him around the toy just so he's not, if he is distracted, he'll still obey me and stuff like that, so there's always stuff to work on.
Let me ask by telephone if by Zoom. Trustee Burke, any questions for the K-9 officer, for Officer Gowan tonight?
Well, yeah, hello. From the Great White North, thanks for being in there. And I've already texted my children who are all dog lovers and told them how disappointed I am that this is the time I'm calling in instead of being there to meet Axel in person. The one question I do have, remind me again where you say he came from, and also if they are bred in a certain way, specifically for this use.
Yeah, so he's from the Czech Republic, and when Tops buys them, they have just specific breeders that they buy them from. So those dogs have been historically used for police dogs, show dogs. They have to have, before they're even brought over, they have to have a medical screening. So they check out his hips and his blood work and everything, and they have to score, the top, I think it's 5 or 10% of all the dogs to make sure they're going to be healthy enough to work. So it's pretty rigorous.
Great, thank you very much.
Of course.
And I'll disappoint our treasurer, Mrs. Hirsch, if I don't make some kind of comment along these lines. Only 8 weeks for obedience. It's taken my wife 35 years. Yeah, and she's still not done. She'll never be done.
They're sticklers on it, for sure.
Yeah, dogs are probably less unteachable than husbands.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Got it.
Yeah.
You can put that in the minutes. Dogs are more teachable than husbands. That's official Lake Barrington policy. Thank you. God bless you and keep you safe.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. Scott, to save you some time later, if you'd like to give your report now, if there's anything you'd like to add. And
the The only thing that I would add is on July 3rd, there was an incident at the park here where the fence was burned, if you guys are aware of that. Right now, the main issue that we're dealing with was that the cameras that would have caught the entire incident, we're having trouble recovering that. I think, Village Administrator, you're well aware of that. But the one camera did have some suspects in it, so I'm going to work with our investigations division to see if we can identify those people and then further the investigation. So other than that, I don't think I had anything more tonight.
Summertime is always especially busy for you guys.
Yes.
I was at a mayor's conference not long ago, and I, as is my way with humor, made the case that America needs more boredom. We're way too excited. We need more boredom. Boredom is good. And when my children feel a little sassy, they will say that, I'm mayor of Lake Barrington. And I said, you're darn right I am, and that's how we want it. Are there questions for Lieutenant Kirk this evening?
The only thing I think that I've seen recently and through the Sheriff's Department as well has been this time of year, there are an awful lot of scams going around, both on the internet as well as direct confrontation with people, but we've not experienced an awful lot of that in this area, have we?
I mean, I'll see reports come across with financial scams. Those are everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're from. Those are just random phone calls that people pick up and fall prey to the scams. And I would just say, if you're a citizen or if you're anybody, just be careful with what you're doing. And if they're asking you to get gift cards, and if it seems unusual, then it's probably a scam. So if you're not sure, call somebody or call the sheriff's office or your local police agency, and we'll gladly talk to you about what's going on and hopefully keep you from, sending your hard-earned money to who knows where.
Especially on the internet too. I can't tell you how many PayPal things I've purchased recently which I don't respond to, we delete immediately, but the same thing. If you get anything unusual on your computer, don't even open it.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions for Lieutenant Kirk this evening? Thank you. We just thought it'd be easier for you since you were up here too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next under President's remarks, we have a visitor, Eva Cole, with Exciting VR Incorporated, and welcome. And then we have the gentleman, Mr. Vasquez, and around the monopole installation at the marketplace. You get to bat cleanup, kind of like baseball. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you. I don't know how much you've read of the pamphlet that I sent out earlier, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, for the benefit of the record, assume people watching this wouldn't have had access, so kind of give us the highlights, if you would.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
My name is Eva Cole. I'm the owner of Exciting VR. It is a virtual reality arcade. I'm presently wanting to open up that in the building of 28039 West North Point Parkway in Lake Barrington. And it is basically right now I have 12 units that any person can play in at various ages and groups can play together, or as allies or as opposites, to be able to play each other on and see each other in the game, and also hear each other over the headsets, and to be able to interact in the game. There'll be all age levels, so there'll be, some for very small kids all the way up to, 30, 40-year-olds. Their parents, when they bring their kids, if they're under the age of 18, will be required to sign a waiver to allow their children to play, and also to make sure that they check the appropriate games for those child to play. And I'll be the last person in that, if they don't have a parent or whatever, I will be that person that says yes or no to them playing games that are not appropriate for their age. I'll be adding additional equipment as the years go by and replacing outdated equipment as it becomes outmoded. We will always have new content going on throughout the year, and as the years pass on, as we move into new gaming systems and new tools that come out and are becoming available, I will be adding those so long as they follow certain criteria, which I want to make sure that everybody that plays, whether they're able or disabled, play at the same level and are capable of playing other players without having to feel like they're being, having difficulty playing. So that's one of my pushes, to make sure that everybody gets an equal opportunity, chance to play and enjoy themselves. I currently have, like I said, the 12 units, but I'll be adding, in come spring of next year, a theater, which is it's 3D, all-encompassing, 7 dimensions of interaction with the games. And so it's the very original for this area. There's not too many of them. I think within a 35-mile radius, there is no other type of game like this. Anybody can there's movement of the chair, there's wind blowing in your face, there's the 3D glasses, which allows you to be able to see everything like it's happening right in front of you. And but again, it will all be age appropriate. Most of the games will be, entertainment versus something a little bit more scary for kids, younger kids. Right now, those are the only ones I have scheduled for this upcoming year, but I will be adding pods and other types of 3D gaming systems that will be dispersed throughout the 8,000 square foot I have. I'm also looking in the next 5 years to add a second story, but that's just in the planning. I haven't made any moves in that direction yet, but as I want to add more equipment or change out equipment for something else that requires more of a footprint, we might go to that second level.
We have a custom of going around the horn and let people ask questions. I'll begin because he normally sits to the left of Village Council and to the right of Trustee Van Ryn. Trustee Burke, who is with us by internet, and he chairs our Economic Development Committee, so I'm sure he has a lot more insight than I do on this. Trustee Burke, any questions or comments for our guest?
Yeah, first of all, hi Eva, welcome. Sorry I'm not there to greet you in person, but thanks for coming in and taking the time to explain your business to us. As President Richardson remarked, I do chair our Economic Development Committee, and a big part of my focus is not only in attracting and supporting new business as they move into Lake Barrington, but continuing to support our existing businesses to make sure they're being as successful as they can. So we'd like to build the reputation that we're easy to do and friendly to do business with, and we hope that that's your experience as you come to Lake Barrington. With that said, and certainly we have a lot of experience with the businesses on North Point with our friends at Cameron and the sports rec, and we're quite familiar with the recplex and what they do there. So it seems like a really kind of ideal location for you as a kind of an entertainment center area for kids. So that's great. My one question is, and maybe I missed this, do you already have this business somewhere else, or a business like it somewhere else?
No.
So this is your first foray.
Yeah, I already purchased the equipment for it. I do not have another, this is opening my first of this type.
Do you have other businesses that you run?
I do. I flip homes on the side. That's just for help me to get to my goals of retirement eventually. But yeah.
Right.
And I also have another business, which my sister was running, but she passed away, so I'm kind of keeping it up for her and her kids.
Got it. Would this be your first kind of bricks and mortar business where you're operating out of a facility?
No, these were both home-based businesses. With the flip homes, I don't really need a brick and mortar. I just find homes that are in distressed situations, and I bid on them, and then eventually, rehab them.
Got it. So this would be your first time working in out of your own facility?
Yes, it is, but I also have a bachelor's degree in retail management, and I also have one class away from my MBA. Thank you.
that's great. Congratulations. No, we like that. I just want to invite you at any point in the process that you're making your way through, but you don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of our staff if you need assistance in getting your business up to speed. You're quite welcome. Thanks again for being here tonight.
Thank you.
No further questions from me.
Thank you, Trustee Burke. Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you for being here, Ava. It sounds very exciting. Do you have a planned opening date?
Not yet. I still have to finish the rehab, which I'm waiting on this meeting to approve me for the special license. And then I'm waiting on some building permits that will follow this, I suppose. And then once those are done, we're probably within a month of opening. But as soon as I know exact times I have to have an electrician, a plumber, and finished carpenter to come in, and then the flooring gets laid, and then I'm open. So probably within a month.
Sure. Would you be planning to hire additional personnel to assist you?
Well, right now, no. I will be in the very near future. As soon as I add that theater, I have to add at least one more person. And as I added new equipment, it's one person per piece of equipment, depending upon the equipment. There might be two per equipment. It just depends upon the type of product it is. And I can't exactly stipulate which ones will and won't right now because I'm still looking at products. And I haven't decided on any additional at this time, but with that theater, at least we'll have one more person. But again, like I said, it will be adding much more equipment as the weeks and months go by. So hopefully, I could have up to 7 or 8 people eventually.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Great, thank you, President Richardson. Thank you, Eva, for coming in today. You mentioned that you would have age-appropriate video games.
Correct.
One, how would you monitor which age demographic would be seeing what? And two, what would be examples of inappropriate video games or a genre that would not be permissible?
Well, they're kind of like rated like same thing types as movies, right? So you have some that are general population that anybody can watch that is not too scary for someone who's like say 2, 3, 4 years old. But then there'll be some more for teenagers that might have a little bit of blood or guts going on in that type of a genre. And then you have more of the adult content, which is not to say X-rated anyway. These are just more appropriate for an adult to play.
So, the iconic, public enemy number 1 in the video game would be something like Grand Theft Auto,
Something
right?
like
Where
that.
you have graphic killing, sexual content. Is that something that you would also offer?
Yeah, we have games that are like that. I have a library of about 400 games in total, but every single one of them has a specific age range. And so, like I said before, when I was talking about it, that if their parents are bringing their kids in, they will review what games are available appropriate for their age, and they can select from that library, those specific sets of games. And they can't select anything outside that range unless their parents give them permission.
I see.
And that I'm going to leave to the parents to decide. If they come in without parents, then I will make that final decision and, not let them play unless they could get a hold of a parent.
Is there any genre that you would not offer?
Anything that has anything to do with sex in it, I don't believe that's appropriate at any age in a game setting, but at least not in public.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Hayes.
Well, I guess welcome. This is a new venture. I wish you well here. I guess the only thing as you go through this journey, think of how we can help you in what you're doing. We want to see businesses come here. We want to see you be successful. So we're here to help, not to hinder. So
Right. You've been very helpful, so I thank you.
yeah, just so remember that. So we wish you well and look forward to knowing when the grand opening is.
Well, I'll let everyone know. I'm going to send you guys an invite.
I might send a crew of 5 grandkids over there.
Oh, sure.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Scheller.
Thank you, President Richardson. Eva, again, welcome.
Nice to see you
And
again.
the best of everything. Describe to me age groups. How many different age groups and what are we talking about?
Well, usually anything that's general education, or not education, general gaming is for anybody from, let's say, 5 or 6 on up. Anybody can play them at any age at that point. And then there'll be games that are more teenager-related games, not too many graphic things going on, but still a bit aggressive in the games. And then you'll have the more adult content. So it's basically only 3 genres of different types of gaming that's appropriate by age. And it'll be like from 5 until, let's say, 14, 15, and then 15 to 18, and 18 and on.
So basically, the virtual reality of this is it's a video game, but it's virtual reality.
Right.
So that's the difference, and that's the experience
Right.
that people will have.
Yeah, most of the games, like I said, the vast majority of the games are general for any player. And, you'll be able to see things inside the game like, let's say you're in a dig, for example, you're in Egypt going through some pyramid, and you're having to do certain things to be able to accomplish the goal, and you'll have zombies, or you'll have mummies, or you'll have something you're fighting against, to get through the game. Most of it won't be very graphic. But there will be a few games, that are more teenage and adult appropriate that might have a lot more gratuitous, violence. And, that's again only for adults, so.
So if somebody comes in and says, I want to play a game, is that how it works? I get to play a game, or I get a
You can play as
package?
many games as you choose. It's set by the hour, and they have to get approval for, like, if anybody comes in 18 years of age or older, they can play anything they choose. Anything under that is going to require their parents' approval. So they'll have to go in, the parent will have to go in online, select the specific games they want to play and for how long. And then they'll get charged through my website to be able to play those games, and they'll have a parent's signed approval, a waiver for them to play.
But it's an hourly, is that what you're saying?
It's 15-minute increments, so they can play 15, 30, 45, or an hour. And most people don't play more than an hour.
Hour, okay. All right. Very good. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
If they become overwhelmed, we'll call the sheriff's department.
I hope never to have to do that, but nice to know they're there to help.
Eva, I'm an entrepreneur. My dad was, my grandpa was. So what got you the entrepreneurial itch? Because what I hear in your background screams, I am an entrepreneur, and God bless you, entrepreneurs built America. And I'm just interested, what's your story? How did you get to here?
Well, I've been working for Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies most of my career. And I've watched other people and me helping those people make a start for themselves to do something with their company, and I was very successful at it. And during that time frame, I've always had set goals for myself, like getting my MBA, and to be able, and this was one of the other goals, is to start my own business and to be I want to be able to grow it into something. So that was the impetus for me to decide to look around.
There are two things you pour your heart and soul into in life, I found for me: my children and my business. And I'm reminded when I get that priority backwards on that. So I admire your sense of drive and ambition here, and we try to celebrate and recognize that in our community. It's more than welcome here. The other thing I'm grateful, and all of my colleagues have touched on it, is our brand statement is an oasis of gracious countryside living. People come here for tranquility and an elegant way of life. And I don't mean simply from a material standpoint, but also from a lifestyle standpoint. I joke earlier, boring is good. Boring is good, because when it isn't around, then Lieutenant Kirk gets real busy, and that's not a good alternative. Your sensitivity to age-appropriate restrictions is to be commended, I think. Build on Trustee Schallmoser's point, although my other colleagues have said it too in various ways. I believe children have a right to their innocence.
I agree.
And I believe we have spent 50 years marinating our children in hypersexuality and hyperviolence, and now we're shocked we have a problem with hypersexuality and hyperviolence. If we're going to look at the issues of especially gun-related, I want a comprehensive solution. I'm certainly willing to look at reasonable restrictions on gun ownership, but not if we don't tackle the other part, and that means people who produce games and music and television shows and movies. Everybody gets in the boat together to fix this thing. Because we have marinated 3 generations of American young people in violence and in hypersexuality. And I was channel surfing the other night because I actually a pretty good husband about doing the dishes. And I was channel surfing when my wife had gone upstairs, and I turned on, just channel, Green Acres.
Oh, yeah. Love that.
I love Green Acres. I love Petticoat Junction. I love Hogan's Heroes. And the point is, you could watch those with your grandchildren and nobody got embarrassed. And so please know what you're hearing from us is a community standard that is very high and completely unyielding. Hyperviolence and hypersexuality for children is not welcome here.
No, and I agree.
And you have said that, and I am grateful for you being proactive about that. Because an oasis of gracious countryside living will not tolerate things that do violence to our sensibilities, and our sensibilities are very traditional here in this community. And I'm grateful that you come in knowing that and are committed to it for your own reasons, as well as a business person.
No, I think that kids need to be protected even from ourselves in some cases, because we may not think about, we're just trying to keep them entertained, right? But we don't think about going and looking at the back and seeing the age range and knowing the groups. And that's why I specifically made sure I had some waivers in place and some, and had these things labeled out so that they could say, oh yeah, my kid can play that, that's not a problem.
So you've obviously hired some pretty good lawyers to give you a template to make sure that you're good about this. I commend you for that too. I'm a lawyer by training, so thank you. I'm very grateful. We wish you well. And rather than make you wait around, why don't you stand there, and Chair will ask that we go out of order to agenda item 13A, ordinances. Consideration of an ordinance granting a special use for a virtual reality arcade to be operated by Exciting VR Incorporated on the property at 28039 West North Point Parkway, Lake Barrington, Illinois. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Burke, moved by Trustee Van Ryn, seconded by Trustee Burke. Thank you both. And I will ask the clerk to please call the roll. Oh, I didn't do the magic words. My mistake, my mistake, my mistake. You looked at me and I thought, whoops. Chair would like a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-0-17. Thank you. An ordinance granting a special use for a virtual reality arcade to be operated by Exciting VR Incorporated on the property at 28039 West North Point Parkway, Lake Barrington, Illinois. Thank you, Lisa. Moved by Trustee Van Ryn, seconded by Trustee Burke. Clerk will please call the roll.
Okay. Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Schallmoser?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes. And bon chance. The welcome mat's out, the coffee's on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also under President's remark, we have Mr. Luis Vasquez with Monopole Installation at the Marketplace. And please come forward, gentlemen, and we welcome you. And would you please introduce yourselves for people watching later? And hit the little red button, or hit the button. Helps with the recording.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and present our proposal here. My name is Luis Vasquez, and I have my colleague here, Ryan Breen. We are with Jacobs Telecommunications, and we are a satellite vendor for AT&T. Today, we come forth to propose a telecommunications tower at the property of 25095 North Kelsey Road here at Lake Barrington. Essentially, this is a stealth monopole, stealth in form of a pine tree. This monopole will be used for the installation of telecommunications antennas by AT&T, which will provide enhanced network and coverage for the area. This will actually not only serve AT&T users, this will not only benefit the community, but I believe this will benefit the employees and staff of Village of Lake Barrington. This monopole will also have the FirstNet technology. Not sure if you guys are a little bit familiar with FirstNet, but it's a priority network for police stations, hospitals, sheriffs, basically first responders. We are proposing a monopine here at the marketplace, kind of towards the back. As you can see, you guys, I believe I passed around a couple of packages. Towards the end, there's a photo sims that those show the existing pictures of the site and then the proposed. So I think with the aesthetics of the landscape, I think this monopine will best fit in that location, just because it kind of hides and blends in with the environment. I know you guys have a beautiful village here, so I know some of the residents may be a little bit opposed to seeing just a great big white tower. So, adding that stealth concept, I think would be great for the not for the village, but also will be of great benefit for AT&T users. So also on the packet, I showed some of the slides. Right where currently there's an existing coverage area plot right here. As you can see, right in the middle, there's a huge gap which lacks coverage. The second page, the proposed coverage area plot would shows that lack of coverage being covered. There's further details right on the site plan that shows more like configuration, how we will be connecting to power. This compound is actually being designed for a 4-carrier pole and compound. That actually brings opportunities to the table, because right now AT&T is the only carrier co-locating, which will give AT&T users better coverage, better service, but being this the only pole in the area, that will attract carriers. Right now we have Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, so that's gonna, in the near future, that's gonna provide better service for all carrier users. So I think right now we can all agree that cell phone usage, it's kind of a necessity. Everyone uses it, emergencies, family, texting, etc. So I think this proposal will greatly benefit the community, the village. And yeah, that's about it. I want to keep it short, just for the best interest of time. I'll let you guys, if there's any questions, concerns.
Thank you, and I'm sharing this information as much for those who might watch it later, so I have answers for which there are no known questions. And oftentimes I will speak to the camera for purposes of providing background for folks who might view it later. So some of this is content as much for you as it is for the public. In 2005, when I became mayor, we started a practice that you're accessing tonight. The policy goal was, we all respect the time and the financial demands upon business people. And we had a couple of occurrences in the years before I became mayor, when I was a trustee here, where people went through the planning commission process, spent a lot of time and money, but they completely misread the comprehensive plan and the public reaction to the comprehensive plan vis-a-vis the project that was being proposed. So what we did is we created a courtesy review to come in to the village board before you decide to submit to the plan commission formally. We have no authority tonight to do anything other than receive your information, maybe ask a question or two, and maybe offer a thought or two. You are free to embrace or ignore those. They don't have any effect upon what the Planning Commission will do in the process, and this is true by a matter of law for municipalities, and Mr. Bateman is meticulous in keeping us on point with this, is the Plan Commission holds a public hearing, and they create a record of decision based on public testimony from you, from others. And then, based on that record of decision and that record of decision alone, they make a recommendation, favorable or unfavorable, that is then forwarded to this board for an up or down vote. We really don't amend. We just say yes or no to what their recommendation is. And so tonight, just know that if you don't get a lot of feedback, it's not because we're not interested in what you're proposing, it's that our process is simply to give you an initial reaction on this. And as you can tell, we have a habit of going around the horn here. And so I'll begin on my right with Trustee Schaller. He lives in Lake Barrington Shores. He's a realtor whose office is in the Marketplace Shopping Center, and he certainly is very knowledgeable. He's a condo president and so forth, been on the master board. Next to him is Trustee Hayes, who is still kind of new to our board. He also lives in Lake Barrington Shores. And then the rest of us live in single-family neighborhoods. We're all part of one community, Lake Barrington. Woe be to the person who tells me we're not one community. We are a community of beautiful neighborhoods. Some are gated and some are not. So with that, I'll yield to Trustee Schaller for comments and questions. Again, we're not giving a reaction. There's no policy decision being made here tonight. So thank you for coming in and taking advantage of this. It's not required, but we're always welcoming of people who do.
Two questions and then some comments. How tall?
Overall structure will be 150 feet.
150?
150 feet.
Okay.
Now, that sounds large just at the surface level, right?
I can't hear, excuse me, I can't hear.
I apologize. Yes, the overall structure will be 150 feet.
Better now, Andy? Can you hear him?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
It'll be 150 feet above ground level. Now, in comparison with Louis and myself being in the telecommunications industry, that's about half of as tall of an average cell tower. Average cell tower is about 300 feet above ground level. So understanding that this proposal was going to be a little sensitive, we wanted to make sure that we took into consideration the aesthetics of the solution that we're providing. That's the reason for the monopine stealth design, and then also the height. We didn't want a 300-foot tree next to some 60, 70-foot trees. So we're designing it to the optimal point where AT&T and other carriers that do co-locate can get the coverage that they need by that elevation, but also it not sticking out like a sore thumb.
The location is, as I see it on the map or from your presentation, is behind the LB Mart, behind the parking lot, up against the fence that is the end of Lake Barrington Shores?
That is correct. Yes, you have that accurate, and the entire lease area beneath the cell tower, which is, I believe, a 50 by 50 compound?
It's 80 by 80, I believe.
80 by 80, that is going to be completely fenced in.
Okay. I'll just give you a little historical background. You will get a lot of objection from the residents of Lake Barrington Shores. Over the years, Lake Barrington Shores was given the opportunity to put a cell tower at the corner of 59 and Miller Road.
Okay.
100 foot, a little over 100 feet, with maybe a flag on top of it.
Sure.
That would have been on the Lake Barrington Shores property. The residents at that time objected and turned down the request from whoever it was, T-Mobile or whoever it was, AT&T, that wanted to put that tower at that location. Second choice was to put it in the forest preserve, which is right behind where you are saying. Would have been hidden by trees in the forest preserve, lower elevation than 59 and Miller. Likewise, they put up balloons. The residents of Lake Barrington Shores were anti that. The revenue all would have come to Lake Barrington Shores. So despite that, the residents at that time, and this is back a couple of years, were violently opposed. The developer then opted to try to put a similar tower on the golf course property on Miller Road, east or west of Highway 59, likewise with a flag on top of it. And there was much objection to that. So I'm just telling you at this point in time, while the village might look favorably upon it, I will tell you that the residents at Lake Barrington Shores probably will somewhat object to this, especially backing up to the property, especially seeing the history, and especially seeing 150 feet, which I think is taller than was originally proposed.
I typically go last, but I want to build on this. Trustee Schaller is not telling you you're not permitted to move forward. He's trying to give you context and history so that you can be prepared. The community room across the hall is available to you to meet with LBS residents, with the LBS Master Board, with the LBS management. If you have not yet had an opportunity to make them aware and sit down with them and get their feedback, I would strongly urge you to consider that for the purposes Trustee Schaller mentioned. We are completely committed to fair due process, both substantive and procedural due process on this. You will absolutely get a chance to put your best case forward. John was providing history so that you could do it, and if you haven't sat down with Laura Nicolini at the LBS Management Company, maybe the condo board presidents and the condo association that borders that portion of the LBS development, and you would wish to, and you need a place to meet, the room across the hall will be made available to you for that purpose. You are in no way obliged to do so. The purpose of the courtesy review is for you guys to get context, so that you can consider, A, do you want to do it, and B, if so, best foot forward.
Sure.
Okey-doke.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Trustee Hayes.
So I can attest that cell coverage in LBS is horrible. So and I have T-Mobile, so I'm not AT&T. First question, who's going to own the tower if it were to be approved? Is it AT&T? Is it Jacobs? Who's going to own the tower itself?
AT&T is looking to...
The microphone for Andy's benefit.
AT&T is looking to own the tower.
Okay.
I believe they also have a build-to-suit company, which eventually will take the ownership of the tower. But AT&T is...
Initially developing it?
Right, correct.
Okay. Second question, I think I already know it. You haven't had any discussions with any of the leadership at Lake Barrington Shores at this point?
Correct.
I think that's spot on. I think they would want to know, and there's, we have what, about 4,000 residents there?
No, 2,600.
2,600, but condo 13 is on that northern edge, and so those, the third thing I think you're going to, because I'm going there with it, is radiation. I think that's going to be a key thing on people's mind. What's the radiation exposure from that? I know exactly where you're planning on putting it. I think, too, that could help in educating. The reality is a cell tower does need to go somewhere around here because it's horrible coverage, so I get that, but other sites where this technology, this tree structure, it looks like a tree, where someone could actually go see what this really looks like versus just a pure rendering. I think that's another factor on that. Other than that, I think we should just open up the door and let the dialogue happen and see where it goes. So thanks for coming in. I would like better cell coverage myself, so I'll just end on that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Schalmoser.
No questions, thank you.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you, President Richardson. A couple questions for you. Is it strictly for cell coverage, or would it impact internet as well?
For right now, it's strictly for cell coverage. There is fiber within the premises, so there could be opportunities to, expand to other services, but right now strictly for cell phone.
Got it. And the monopole obviously is very aesthetically pleasing versus a regular one. Are there any other sustainability benefits to going this route instead of a regular pole?
Well, we're kind of doing the monopine, just, I talked to former village administrator, I believe her name was Karen, and she pointed out heavily that, the aesthetics of a regular pole would probably not be pleasing to the residents, and and she said it would highly be, she was very confident it would probably be rejected. So that's why we came up with the monopine. But other than that, it's about the same, it's just one stealth.
To Trustee Hayes' point, are you using this elsewhere in other communities?
We kind of go along with where is required, like Barrington, beautiful village you have here. So not a lot of jurisdictions are as strict as like Barrington. So definitely when it's requested, and when zoning planning comes to tell us, hey, we don't like the look of this, what can you do to stealth it? Can we add screens, or can you do a stealth tower? That's what we kind of offer it. But other than that, we like to go with a regular monopole.
Yeah, one of the more high-profile areas in which we typically build the monopines are with the state parks of Illinois. So we've done one at Starved Rock, we've done a couple up north, but they typically, there's not many areas within the Chicagoland area where a solution like this is going to be fitting. It's a highly urban type of market, right? So most of the stealth solutions we have done have been screening on top of rooftops or flag poles or something along those lines. This is definitely more of a unique solution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Trustee Burke by telephone.
Yes, hi, thank you. A few questions. One question is, and I appreciate the fact that you recognize that the monopine is going to be more favorably viewed by our residents and others. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be favorably viewed, but what kind of trade-off does that give you, or does it create in terms of cost and in terms of efficiency or effectiveness? Said maybe differently, if you were just going to build the ideal tower to create the coverage that you seek normally, what would that tower look like in size and shape?
Sure. So the most common tower solution in 2023 is referred to as a monopole. It's just one single round diameter pole that has the antennas mounted to the top of them. Those, again, the average height of those towers is about 300 feet nationally. As far as cost is concerned, we don't know the specifics. Everything is evaluated on a site-by-site level with these construction projects, but it's very safe to say a monopine would be 2 to 3 times the cost of what a monopole would be. And again, that's because this is going to be an entirely custom solution for this application versus a mass-produced monopole that's used everywhere in the country.
Right, and so I bring that up because if indeed you are going to take the counsel of this group and do a communication and a reach out, certainly that's something worth talking about, right? That in terms of how you would present yourself, that it's costing more money and they're making that effort. The second thing I would think about, if I'm the resident of Lake Barrington, and you have some renderings in there that show it from different vantage points. One of the things you might consider doing, if you get permission to do so, would be show it from the vantage point of the other side of the fence where the residents live, and get some, and therefore you could create some facsimiles of what it might look like from various places inside Lake Barrington shores, so that people aren't just imagining that they're going to see this giant tower towering over everything from every aspect of Lake Barrington shores. That's a couple of thoughts, not that I'm advocating for or against, but just giving you the idea of how to do a complete presentation. And this is from our own experience. The more you can share about the risks and the cost and all the considerations that you're looking at, and the more transparent you are, the more people will trust and believe. So that's the only other counsel that I would give you guys on and I would just thank you for coming
Sure, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Burke. I've kind of already said a few things, but just to, again, express my gratitude. We recognize that you have to appear before us tonight, and then later before the Plan Commission. And it's not easy to come into a room and face us. It's like making cold sales calls.
You have been very welcoming.
Well, we try to be gracious, irrespective of the issue. And we were all blessed on this board to have moms and dads who taught us right and wrong, and good manners are what you do when you host someone and you're a guest in our home. And so we want you to know that we don't know what the Plan Commission will review and find. I think what you've heard is some pretty good advice on how to engage the community. I'll reiterate simply that should you wish to engage the community and it requires meeting space, the community room across the hall will be made available to you. And we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for again coming in and seeing us.
Sure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, what I said was historical.
Yes.
Had no indication of what my feeling was. LBS should have accepted the offer many years ago to put it up on their land.
If you don't mind me asking, these other hearings, were they pre-pandemic, before the whole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there was, I don't know if it ever got to the Plan Commission or not, but I know that Lake Barrington Shores just was anti, and it would have benefited. I don't know what the prices, what the benefit now financially is, but at that point, when it was presented, it was a $20,000 a year proposal that LBS would have benefited from putting the tower at 59 and Miller. And, income for a community that relies upon assessments probably would have been beneficial. And then at that time, they had also said the more, and I don't know what the situation is with AT&T, but they said if other wanted to go up on the tower, there could be additional revenue generated from that.
Yes.
But at least it was the 20,000. So I meant, while some of us thought there was a pretty good deal, I'm just historically telling you, and I know there was rumors going around that this was happening, and they thought it was going to be out closer to Kelsey Road and Shoreline Road rather than within the marketplace. And even then, they were saying, so I'm just historically telling you what it is.
Sure.
But I think, I agree that cell service needs to be improved.
Yeah, it just underscores the point you've heard from all of us. Reaching out to the neighbors and to the LBS Management Company may be something very beneficial. You are not obliged to take any of this advice.
We appreciate the counsel.
Yeah, I have children for that. They feel like not to take any of my advice either, so. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Have a good evening.
Thank you. And would you hit the button off on the sound? Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 6 this evening is the first opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the board on non-agenda items. There is no one from the public here seeking recognition, so we can move to agenda item 7, the consent agenda. These topics were reviewed before this meeting, immediately before this meeting in the committee of the whole, so there's nothing new. 7A is consideration of an ordinance authorizing bonuses for the village clerk, executive assistant, and the village building permit coordinator / deputy village clerk. B is consideration of a resolution regarding the adoption of the 2022 Lake County All Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. C, consideration of an ordinance. Now, which one are we taking off?
This one is...
We are eliminating 7C this evening. So D now becomes C. Consideration of a fireworks permit for Lake Barrington Shores for their 50th anniversary celebration on July 22nd with a rain date of July 23rd. New D, electrical feeders. Well number 1, water plant replacement. E, well number 2, variable frequency drives, VFD installation. So I'm going to now ask for formally, Chair would like a motion to approve in block ordinance number 2023-0- and Lisa, this is number A, 18, An ordinance authorizing bonuses for the Village of Lake Barrington Village Clerk, Executive Assistant, and Village Permit Coordinator, Deputy Village Clerk. B, motion to approve resolution number 2023-R-12. Thank you. A resolution regarding the adoption of the 2022 Lake County All-Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. C, motion to approve the fireworks permit application for Lake Barrington Shores for their event on Saturday, July 22nd, 2023, with rain date of Sunday, July 23rd, 2023, pending the updated certificate of insurance. D, motion to award the contract to Associated Electrical Contractors, LLC of Woodstock, Illinois, in the amount of $48,207. And E, motion to allow the village administrator to move forward with the variable frequency drive installation at well number 2 in an amount not to exceed $16,000. May I have a motion in block?
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you may.
I just didn't have a chance.
Yeah, you weren't able to.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'll be quick.
That's okay.
The well repairs, is that coming out of the sewer and water fund?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. Super. May I have a motion to approve in block? Moved by trustee Schaller. May I please have a second?
Second.
By trustee Van Ryn. Thank you both. Clerk will please call the roll on the consent agenda as amended.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Yeah. Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Moser?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8 this evening is the treasurer report. Mrs. Hirsch.
Good evening. So I just have 1 month here, so there's not a whole lot to discuss. We basically have the financial statements for the first month of our fiscal year, which would just be for the month of May, first month of our fiscal 2024 financial or fiscal year. So I'll be pretty brief. Our assets are at $5,183,000. Our liability is at $2,615,000, and our equity is $2,568,000. One thing you might note is that we're showing a large loss of almost $88,000. That might sound frightening to most of us to lose $1 million in our first month of operation or for the fiscal year, but it's all budgeted, it's all planned, it's all road work, and our revenue will come in over the course of the year to cover that.
And forgive me for interrupting on this point, but I am a broken record over many years on this. We have a financial policy of retaining a certain percentage amount of the annual budget as a rainy day fund. And in the years where we exceed it, rather than doing a formal rebate of taxes, because our village board's policy is we do not hold more of the taxpayers' hard-earned money than is absolutely necessary. It's why the bond houses won't give us a AAA rating.
It's very true.
Is we refuse to hold more of the people's money than we should hold. So what we do as a de facto tax refund is we escalate, or accelerate rather, a variety of public works related matters, including roads, which are probably the most common. But sometimes this means drainage and other flood control measures as well. And so this large number is very much planned. And if I were going to informally and not legally restate it, I would simply say it's a $980,000 tax rebate as a practical matter. I'm a political operative and you're an accountant, and I know we're never going to completely align on that. You're allowed to laugh, that's okay.
I'm not laughing. I am not laughing. No, I would not do that.
I share your desire not to have people to take that number out of context.
Correct.
So thank you for letting me interrupt.
Okay, no problem there. So I'm not going to, unless there's questions about the general fund, there's not really too much to mention there until we get to a warrant, and then we've spent some more money this month. But just a quick look at the budget to actual, which is a little bit irrelevant since there's just 1 month. Page 7 does show we're collected 5% of our revenues. Once again, not concerned about that. It's pretty close to budget on our sort of our tax revenues. That's where I tend to look for the most part for the first couple of months. On page 8, our expenditure is 21% actual budget. Once again, that's all road work coming through at the beginning of the year. You'll see that number will jump up again even next month. There's more road work coming through for approval in the warrants this month. So unless there's questions, I'll keep moving on to the next fund. which would be the motor fuel tax fund. We have about $200,000 of net current assets in there, and there's no planned expenditures in that fund this month, so that should be pretty inactive over the course of this year. Turning to page 12, it's my page 12, I don't know your packet numbers.
With the number circled on the bottom.
Correct. So water sewer fund, we do have net current assets in there, about $1,788,000. There's no unusual activity to talk about this month. We are showing a $32,000 loss this month, but it's not a revenue month. We collect revenue every other month, so no concern there. Village Administrator Peterson and I have embarked on a kind of a water sewer study with some different folks because we know that it's not sustainable to pay more for your water than your treatment than you are getting in revenue from your business users. So we are going to be looking at that over the course of the next couple of months. And that's what I'll have to mention until I get to the warrants. So any questions there?
Questions for the treasurer. Trustee Burke, anything from over the phone?
No, thank you.
Are there trustees here at the dais who wish recognition for that purpose? Okay.
Okay, continue. So it was another, excuse me, rather expensive month. Warrant A, a couple of large invoices for your approval. Arrow Road Construction, $357,366.24. And that is the second pay request for the general 2023 road resurfacing program. Chicago Land Paving for $397,059.64, and that's the third payment request for the Hillside Hillview Road project, and that will mostly be covered with our ARPA money, so you'll see the revenue side coming in next month. And then there are 3 invoices for HR Green, and they are the engineers for both of those projects. So $9,812, and then another one for $37,554.08 for the 2023 road program. That's for engineering and for construction observation. And then $24,094.04 for the Hillside Hillview project. And then finally, the one more to mention is Next Site for $8,000, and that is for the Commercial Development Advisory Services. Excuse me. And I know that was held off the last month, and I think Village Administrator Peterson and Trustee Burke did discuss that and agreed to, excuse me. Thank you, Kevin. I got a little frog.
No rush.
Sorry for the camera there. And that's actually all I have.
Okie dokie.
I will mention one thing which came to my attention today. So apparently nationally and in Illinois, there's a shortage of licensed accounting professionals, and that includes audit staff. So GATA, which is like the Government Accounting and Transportation Act, or Transparency Act, I think I said that correctly, has given a 3-month extension for filing on their portal. I imagine that's going to come through from the Comptroller's office as well for filing audit reports. So I wouldn't be surprised if ours, is running late this year. Our auditor has been totally non-responsive. We are working on our schedules now for the inputting to the portal. The Finance Department and I are working on that now, but I do suspect that might run a little bit late this year. Not any fault of our own, just to bring the board up to speed on that one. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any further questions for the treasurer at this point? I will simply observe that no wisecracks tonight on this. I think one of the things that we failed to do in recruiting you, Sharon, was to tell you what a prize you have in Peggy Hirsch.
Oh, jeez.
And you hear about municipalities struggling with issues around compliance and process and so forth, and she makes it possible for us to have absolute confidence all of the time. And she does a brilliant job for us, and she's worked with your predecessor and the former village accountant, and if there's a legacy that she leaves that I'm so grateful for in the years we've worked together, is I've never worried about this for a moment because of your integrity and your talent. And that is a gift to you that we failed to advertise.
No, Sharon's doing a fabulous job, and I'm hoping we can add value together.
And I have enough brains to stay out of it. Okay, Chair would like a motion to approve and block agenda items 8A, B, and C, A, approve the financial statements as of May 31st, 2023. B, pay bills in the amount of, and thank you for doing this, $1,072,016.51 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated July 11, 2023, and pay bills in the amount of...
I'm sorry.
Oh.
The new one, there's a newer number that's different.
Okay, well, let me start again then. 8A, approve the financial statements as of May 31st, 2023. B, pay bills in the amount of...
$1,065,150.52.
Thank you. As listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated July 11, 2023. And C, pay bills in the amount of...
$22,716.50.
Thank you. As listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated July 11th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve in block?
So moved.
By Trustee Hayes, thank you. May I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Schalmoser. Thank you both, gentlemen. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Hayes?
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Schauer?
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn?
Yes.
President Richardson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Agenda item 9 is the Administrator's Report. Administrator Peterson.
Thank you, President Richardson. I have a couple items this evening. The proposals for the waste hauling services. Our current contract with Waste Management expires at the end of September. We are working with Swalco on proposals for waste hauling services. On July 8th, Swalco solicited proposals from the following waste haulers: GFL Environmental Inc., Lakeshore Recycling Services, Flood Brothers, Republic Services, Groot, Waste Management, and SBC Waste Solutions, Inc. The proposals are due back to Walter Lewis at Swalco by July 28th. The contract for the recommended waste hauler will be presented at the August Village Board meeting. Waste Management is aware that there may be some overlap between the time that their contract expires and the new service begins if they are not the lowest proposal.
Okay, I think one of the points taken away here is just something that we don't get to recognize often enough, which is our partnership with county government. The Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, Swalco, my predecessor, Connie Schofield, may she rest in peace, was very active when she was village president with them, and they provide a consulting resource to municipalities in the county on this issue of evaluating waste hauling and recycling contracting. And Sharon very wisely accessed that expertise. And so our RFP now is out, and they've all been given, and the best part is they manage the process for us. The county manages the process for us. So thank you to our friends in county government. Happy to say that for the record. And secondly, thank you for having the good sense to utilize that resource.
You're welcome.
Are there questions for the administrator on her report?
Yeah, I have just one comment. Hopefully in the evaluation, they evaluate how well they actually deliver the service. It's one thing to just put trash in the back, it's how they deliver the service too. I don't know. I'm just saying that low prices and everything, so how they actually deliver the service matters too.
Yes, that will definitely be something that will be looked at.
Well, and I can't let the record go by without just referencing, and some of this is new background for you, it's not new for the board, but for public record's sake. The typical resident share in Lake Barrington Shores of the village's tax bill is less than the cost of the garbage collection and the recycling collection that we pay for on behalf of the residents, such that when folks there have rightly inquired, what do I get from the village? It's a net plus, actually, and this service is key to providing that value add to our LBS neighbors. So I'm particularly pleased to hear that we're getting a good amount of companies interested in this to give us a good offer that we can consider.
Yes.
Now, the evaluation process, to build on Trustee Hayes' point, Swalco will visit with you in saying, here's what came back. How is the recommendation for this board finalized, and who's involved in that evaluation process?
Walter and I from Swalco will sit down, he'll put a spreadsheet together with all of the prices that came in, the services offered.
I would think it would be myself and one of the trustees to go over that together, to have a recommendation to present in August.
Since it's finance, HR, and admin, I would go with trustee Hayes if you would. The other thing I'd be curious is, we can talk about this after the meeting, just you and I, but we are one of the very few communities left that actually do this, and I'm just interested to know whether they see this. How unique are we? I think we're extraordinarily unique, but I'm interested in if they've got any data points on that.
It was interesting because in my discussions last week with Walter, he was surprised that we pay for the trash bills. And he was like, well, maybe you would want to put something on the residents if the increase. I'm like, nope. I just flat out said, no, that's not something we're going to do. I know it would not be considered. So he was very surprised. I'll have to ask him if there are other communities that do this. But
I'm just
I don't think
curious.
so.
I'm just curious. Look, there's an old expression, there are no accidents. And again, because you knew this is more for your benefit, but I like to get it on the record for the residents too. When we started this in 2005, and your predecessors, although John was here, we had a vision. And in the business park, it was simple. When we made the decision to allow the Canlan Sports Center originally to be built by different developers, the whole notion was if we were going to get sales tax generating businesses interested, we don't have enough rooftops to make it destination retail. Just don't exist. So you have to have transient traffic. So the notion was originally, and I take a lot of pride in this for our community, Canlan was started, and then the Pepper Park Coffee Strip Center was created, and then Speedway was added, and we're beginning to see it in the numbers. The trip generation, because you can drop the kids off there, work at Pepper Park, get gas, and then drive around Kelsey Road to Pepper Road again and pick up the kids. Trip generation for transients. Because we don't have the rooftops to support big retail to drive sales tax. Similarly, in this case, the notion was, how do we make sure we provide value for residents outside of the single-family neighborhoods? And this was a no-brainer, in my view, and then your predecessors, in many cases, saw it the same way, both you as administrator and Peter and Therese and Rich and even maybe Andy, although not so much anymore, he's been on the board a long time. But this was all done with a plan. And so when people make an observation, why did we have a tree preservation ordinance to the earlier conversation? Because we wanted to change the nature of development in this community so that we could have a more level playing field for the acquisition of open space to preserve our brand of an oasis of gracious countryside living, either by us, the county, or CFC. And it's worked. And it is a masterpiece. And I guard it like I guard the lives of my daughters, because none of this was just by happenstance. Very smart people, very committed on the staff, and your predecessors, and I think all of us today, can take a legitimate bow. This was all part of a plan. And to paraphrase in a much different context, the relief of Bastow, God, I'm proud of these people. So forgive my monologue, my filibuster there, but this is a great chance to share some of this with you very publicly, get it back on the record for the residents. So
Can I ask you?
Of course you may.
I mean, I run a business. The transaction of dealing with an invoice, okay, for a $50 a month service, one little hiccup there, you're chasing it down. I think what has been done here leans out so much cost for them, which means our cost should be lower, especially with the competition. This is brilliant, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what they come back.
Waste Management hosts its customers at the U.S. Conference of Mayors for dinner. So I've been invited over the years because we've been a waste customer. And they really, in the industry, and they've speakers from Republic have also spoken to one of the other mayors groups I'm active with called Community Leaders for America. It's the Republican mayors organization. And what I've learned about this industry is exactly your point. They really want to get out of individual billings and out of contracts with cities that won't pay at all for just the reasons you suggest. Just the reasons you suggest. And it gives us a better quality of vendor, I think. It brings better players into the mix in responding to our RFPs. Thank you for the comment, because you're right.
Just one quick, I find this interesting. How did they get the numbers? Some of these names I'd never heard of. So is there a traditional list that they lean on, or is it based on zip code?
It's a traditional list that they lean on, and haulers that are out this way. Because I know I did speak with somebody from Republic, and she said they're still going to put in a proposal, however, because their location is so far away, it might end up being a little bit higher than what the other ones come in at.
Further questions for the administrator? If not, agenda item 10, the clerk's report. Ms. Pena-Talapa. No report. We'll move to agenda item 11, reports of the Standing Committee, Branding and Communications. Trustee Van Ryn.
Thank you, President Richardson. Good news, your next quarterly newsletter is going to be hitting your mailbox shortly. Thank you to Lisa for seeing that through for us. Speaking of newsletters, our e-newsletter subscriber number is up to 384, so we're inching ever so much closer to 400, which is phenomenal. That's up 4 from our last report. Also up 4 from our last report is our LinkedIn followers. We're up to 139. I was really hoping to break through that 140 mark by this evening, but...
So let's just do a little public shaming here. Is everybody on this board a LinkedIn person with the village?
Yep. Everybody?
Okay, otherwise I'm just going to do some public shaming here tonight.
Well, and one person that I've invited to follow us is Suzanne Kaur from the Chamber. Andy, who I'm sure will mention this in his report, so I don't want to take away his angle on this, but we had a wonderful conversation with her today, talking about how some of our businesses are taking advantage of our membership there, and I'll let him talk in more detail about that. If it's not yet on your calendar, please mark September 23rd for Pepper Park Fest. That is being coordinated by the Chamber, and I think it'll be a fantastic event for our residents, so look forward to that event. And finally, just a reminder to all of my fellow trustees and colleagues here, as well as our residents, my daughter and I went out on a walk on our walking trails this past weekend and took some pictures, which you'll see on LinkedIn. We have phenomenal open spaces. Our oasis is just blooming in full force right now. If you're looking for a way to relax and take advantage of a local treat, please get out on our walking trails.
Well, and if you look at an aerial map, lots of communities in western Lake County can claim open space, but you have to commit criminal trespass to access it in most places. Ours is publicly accessible, and that's the Lake Barrington differentiator.
Right. Thank you very much.
Questions for Trustee Van Ryn? If not, 11B, Economic Development, Trustee Burke.
Thank you very much. I will pick up where Therese left off, talking about our meeting with Suzanne Kaur from the Barrington Area Chamber of Commerce. We did have a great call with her today. The purpose of that was really to touch base with her. If you all recall, you approved us to spend funds to engage the Barrington Area Chamber to represent in block our retail establishments in Lake Barrington, particularly focused in the Pepper Park area. Suzanne wasted no time getting to work on that. She has had multiple outreach Zoom calls. She has had multiple engagements and planning discussions about the upcoming Pepper Park Fest, of which the Chamber is going to be helping to organize, which is, let's be clear, both a big relief for our business owners who've had to undertake that, and our staff, where sometimes there are requests for their services to get involved. And part of the reason we made the agreement with Barrington Area Chamber was we just recognized we're not staffed to help organize business events in our community, and this is exactly what the Chamber is doing for 25 to 30. They are all listed in the Barrington Area Chamber of Commerce website and grouped under Lake Barrington, which is very cool. I want to thank staff, Lisa and Sharon, for helping working with Suzanne to make sure that all our businesses were represented and accounted for, and good contact information existed. Suzanne said there's a high level of engagement. She's reached out to about 24 to 30 businesses, and at least half of them have responded with their satisfaction that this is great that she's doing this work. So the other part of the reason for meeting is that we want to make sure that Therese and Suzanne are coordinating communications very carefully. Anything that we put on our social media sites, that we're tagging each other on those, in any kind of press releases that go along with, say, ribbon cutting ceremonies or other events, that there's a coordination of who's offering those and who's pushing to get those picked up by the press. So very productive, off to a very fast start, and I think something that we should feel good about, that we're filling a void, what was perceived as a void in our business community, retail community, needing some additional support to organize and advertise and promote. So well done all the way around there. Associated with that, just a quick update on Kelsey Roadhouse. I continue to stay in very close communication with the new owners. In fact, before I left on vacation, I went over on a Saturday afternoon, had a cold beverage at their beautiful new outdoor bar that one of the partners handmade himself. If you haven't been, it's a very cool bar with the garage doors that faces the outdoor patio. Very light, very airy, crystal chandeliers. They now have a Sunday brunch, the menu looks amazing. And I'm delighted to tell you that the owners have told me everything that we would ever want to hear, which is business is great, it's exceeding their expectations, they're building a clientele, and they're thrilled with the support that the Village of Lake Barrington has given them to help them get up and running and started. They've continued to make improvements to the property. They've replaced parking lot lights to address some concerns about leakage of light onto surrounding properties. We're very pleased that they took that action, and it appears to have met our requirements in terms of not flooding onto private property. I really can't encourage you enough to go out and see how different it looks. The menu is different. The look is different. It's really a fun place, and local families are really responding. They've been having music on weekend nights or afternoons. So very much a success story. We're really proud of the fact this transition took place, and it seems as though they're beginning to realize their vision for success, which is a shared vision that we all have. North Point Parkway, we've talked about this before. We've had ongoing conversations. Sharon was part of the latest conversation with the property owners there about the road situation and the fact that it's private, the fact that it's deteriorating. And I think we have kind of agreement in principle at this point in time that the property owners will put their property owner association back together, reinstated. They had it at one point in time, which would allow us to take the SSA that existed, reapply that, and if necessary, and this has been all discussed with Jim Bateman, and if necessary, we would be able to tax them through the special service area to pay for maintenance, repairs, and ultimately replacement and reconstruction before we would consider taking over full ownership of the private road. So they are in the process of getting their property owners association reinstated and getting everybody on board with that, and then they'll come back to us once that is done, so we can talk about next steps with potential road repair, maintenance, and an SSA being reapplied. Last but not least, I just want to shout out to our new administrator, Sharon. She and I have had numerous meetings, numerous phone calls, just in terms of onboarding, in particular focused on economic development. She has completely jumped in and engaged. She's met business owners. She's talked with Suzanne Core. I can't say enough how happy I am with how quickly she's come up to speed and already really supporting our efforts on economic development going forward and really becoming an integral part of staff's support of that, and of which we agreed there's a lot of opportunity for us, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to improve our service to our customers, and that's going to continue to be a focus area for us to make sure that as we're serving our business owners as well as our residents, that they truly do see us as advertised, easy to do business with, a pleasure to do business with, and always helpful. So that's the goal, and that is my report, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Other questions for Trustee Burke? Excellent report, Andy. And I completely concur. Lynn and I now are becoming regulars at Kelsey Roadhouse. Everything has really been just moved in a great direction, and, I now have several choices. There's Zaza's, and there's Delmonico's, and there's Kelsey Roadhouse, and still go over to have a microbrew once in a while, and sandwich, and even a panini at Speedway. Even a panini at Speedway. So, thank you. There being no questions on external relations, 11C, I got 3 quick items. As Andy's been working with Sharon on onboarding her with regard to economic development matters, I've been working to onboard her on external relationships and governmental matters. We talked with County Board member Mike Danforth, who represented us regarding the Miller Road access issue, and with the county, and that gave me an excuse to introduce her on this. Sharon and I are having dinner tomorrow night with Donnie Storino and Brian Daly, our Springfield lobbyists. 2 kinds of grant buckets, those that are advocacy-based and those are program application-based. And between Donnie and Brian and Sharon now, we've got both buckets full. We want to see what synergy we can generate between the two to see if, 1 + 1 can be 3. And I'm traveling an awful lot, as you guys know, but I want to get her connected with Representative McLaughlin and Senator McConkey on this. And at some point, the district staff for Congressman Quigley, who represents that part of Lake Barrington south of Miller Road, and then Congresswoman Schakowsky, who represents the area north of Miller Road, including LVS, Twin Ponds, all the northern along River Road and along Anderson Road there. And she spoke, Congresswoman Schakowsky, at BACOG not long ago when I was there. Peter normally very ably does this, but I was in town, and I know we're a little bit through stuff in Washington, so our job is to enrich his onboarding, Sharon, in a lot of the administrative and internal matters. So you are getting a 3-court press on onboarding from us. Second item is I've poached a little bit on Rich's turf on this with the Six Sigma project to digitize the back end of the permitting process. Paraphrasing, I married a great Southern lady. Paraphrasing another great Southern lady, Scarlett O'Hara, as God is my witness, I am going to solve this permitting issue. What has been so surprising is there's no one with a real solution out there in the market. Teresa and I work for a company that really has great partners, and even our VAR network is not a direct match. We're going to end up at some level, and I spent a lot of time with the president of the SIC. We did a call together on this with the team, and we're going to meet with them in 2 weeks or 10 days here in person. And then I spoke separately with the president of the Six Sigma consulting firm. He's an ex-Motorola guy, so he totally gets this Six Sigma stuff. And I said, look, this is a journey, it's not a destination, and we're going to look to optimize process, drive down cost, and because I am so devoted to my village treasurer, I want to do it in a way that's the most cost-effective manner for the village, too. But don't think I'm staying on budget. And then the last issue is, Last week, I had the privilege and pleasure of attending the Local Government Association annual meeting in the United Kingdom. And like here, we have the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the National League of Cities. They're bipartisan, or there in the UK, it's tripartisan, so the term they use is cross-party. They have Labor, Liberal Democrats, and Conservatives, as we have Democrats and Republicans. So I actually had a speaking opportunity before the LGA Conservatives, because I'm the liaison for the sister organization here in the U.S., and it is great fun to be with the Brits on 4th of July. And if you got a sense of humor about it, and most of them do, you can have a lot of laughs. You can have a lot of laughs. I did a poll, and they don't want us back. We talked a lot about digital transformation for cities on that. A lot of flood control and environmental stuff. The green space stuff that I talked about for us was well received. And then this is not a big shock, everybody wants a forecast on the U.S. presidential election. And so it was delightful, as you all know, that travel is never billed to the village. It's stuff that I take care of, but it's great fun to be with our cousins, and I'm hoping to do one for the Australians this autumn, which is actually their spring because of south of the equator. So that's my quick report. We can move, unless somebody has questions, to 11D, Finance, HR, and Administration. Trustee Hayes.
Well, you got me going. So, President, thank you. So, as God is your witness, thank you for running that to ground. No issue there. Kind of interesting, I was in London last year, and I went and saw Hamilton in London. And you all know what the story of Hamilton's about. And just sitting there with a bunch of Brits, just enjoying it and laughing. And Hamilton was kind of funny for me. So I thought I'd share that. That was awesome. As it relates to Australia, if you're going to do that, little fact that nobody in this room probably knows but me, but Australia was formed, I think, 1905. And the first war they fought in as a country with the United States and Britain was obviously World War I. Well, Lieutenant General John Monash was their senior military officer over in Europe at the beginning of World War I. Australia was lined up with Britain, obviously for good reasons, and 2 infantry regiments from your Illinois National Guard were assigned to Lieutenant General John Monash to take the village of Hamel, France. In Hamel, France, it was the first battle in which combined armed maneuver was ever performed in the world, which was the use of attack airplanes, tanks, and infantry. And Lieutenant General John Monash was the inventor of this new tactical concept. And these 2 regiments from our state fought side by side. Well, in 2018, on July 4th, at 1:03 p.m., I sat on that hill with the senior military leadership of the Australian Army, the British Army, the U.S., and it was televised nationally in Australia because it is their first battle, and it's their pride, and their first fighting with the United States was with Illinois. And so, it's really cool for me to get to do that. So that's a great story.
That's a great story.
You can look it up. It's all awesome. So a lot has gone on this year, as you all know, with all the personnel changes and the salary adjustment, timing, and all the rest of it. So talking with Sharon and talking with Jim, I'm going to use the next few months, August through October, to work with Sharon and all of you to go back and re-look the job descriptions, because hers was updated. We got Peggy's started. Okay, but relook the job descriptions, because I think it's due time to do it. It's been a while. And then correspondingly, look at and review the rest of the policies. Do they align with our current thinking? So we're going to go through this and expose and educate, and do that between now and October, with the idea in November we would come with any recommended changes from the various input from all of us, and then talk about it in November, and then December make the appropriate changes. For example, we talked last month about moving the reviews to January. Well, we need to codify that, obviously, in the policy manuals. So there's some work we need to do. Likewise, in talking with Peggy and Sharon, it's probably time to go back and take a look at our insurance plans as it relates to health insurance and the like. It's been a while as well. So all of this isn't, there's a problem, it's been a while since they've been looked at. So we're going to use this next few months, just look at those things, and then November be that we can have a robust discussion with any changes being voted on in December. So that's the update from my side of the house.
Questions for Trustee Hayes? Excellent report, thank you. 11E, Roads and Infrastructure, Trustee Schalmoser.
Thank you, President Richardson. Very quiet month, as our treasurer noted. The second payment request to Arrow Road Construction for the resurfacing program was made, and the third payment to Chicagoland Paving contractor. So we're wrapping things up. Things have been spent, so kind of quiet in this topic.
Questions for Trustee Schalmoser? If not, 11F, Public Safety. Trustee Scheller, we touched on some of it earlier, but what else?
Thank you, President Richardson. I want to thank the Lake County Sheriff's Department and Axel for making an appearance this evening and educating us as to the K-9 unit, and for Lieutenant Kirk to bring us up to date with what's going on locally in the last couple of months, just so that you don't feel as if we don't have anything. There are a couple identity thefts, credit card frauds, criminal damage to property that go on in our counties or in our municipalities. So thanks to the Sheriff's Department for keeping us safe and keeping us in good shape. Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District, new Chief Maltese has now started a spousal auxiliary group. His wife is heading it up. It's supposed to be support for the firefighters if they, it's traumatic sometimes, the situations that they are in, and this is a group that's kind of been formed to be there emotionally or to respond to any trauma that they might have. So it's been something that the chief and his wife has started. It's a challenge still to keep with PSI, which is a recruiting company. They contract their firefighters, but they have many in paramedic school, and they're down about 8 members, though, from the department. So it's a constant battle to recruit new members for the fire departments. It's amazing. And if you look at Chicago and, the firefighters and the police department that are abandoning ship because of what's going on. So some of those recruiting, they try to recruit out here at the same time. Wakanda Fire Department, just as a report, there were 62 fire calls year-to-date, 1,371 EMS rescues year-to-date. That's up about 3% during the year, and you see the ambulances come down 59 and Kelsey Road going to Good Shepherd Hospital. So our thanks to both departments. And finally, just as an aside for the Chamber of Commerce, as a representative of the village, I have volunteered to help them put cars in on Saturday morning down at the parking lot. They have a classic car show, and I volunteer, so I will represent the village. Bring your classic car down there. Thank you.
Questions for Trustee Scheller? All right, Trustee Perkins is absent this evening. Does the administrator have anything on open space and special events?
We have our concert at Friar Farm next week, and then next week, Trustee Perkins, Lisa, Julia, and myself will be meeting to start planning the barn stomp. And that's going to be on Saturday, September 30th.
Marvelous, thank you. Agenda item 12, no old business. Agenda item 13A, we've already dispatched. Agenda item 14, no resolutions. 15, no new business. Agenda item 16, second opportunity and the agenda for the public to address the board. There is, oh, yes, of course, treasurer is recognized.
Well, I hope I'm not out of place. I just want to mention something that may not have crossed your minds about the garbage thing. I live in the village of Barrington Hills, and during the course of the week, I have 4 different garbage trucks going down my street. We just spent a ton of money on your roads. If you know how much a garbage truck weighs and how much damage that does to your roads, really good reason why you want to have one carrier going through your village 1 day a week. We have all these trucks, and everyone's garbage is out on different days. Garbage is flying here and flying there. So I think it's just hugely beneficial to the village for a number of reasons, but that is a huge one, that you've just redone your roads and to keep those trucks off your roads. Just thought I'd add that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Excuse me, there's no need for a closed session. There's no other business, so the most preferred motion of the evening, Chair would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Trustee Hayes, correct? May I have a second? Second. By Trustee Schaller. Thank you both, gentlemen. All those in favor?